Good afternoon. I'm Jane Elkin-Peavy. I'm the supervisor of the town of Mamaroneck. I want to welcome you today to our tri-municipal commemoration of the 22nd anniversary of the terrorist attacks of 9/11. And this is a tri-municipal event with the town of Mamaroneck in conjunction with the village of Larchmont and the village of Mamaroneck. With me are my colleagues on the town board, Abby Katz, Sabrina Fiddleman, Jeff King, and Robin Nachinsky, and our town administrator, Meredith Robson. I was coming home from a Bruce Springsteen concert in New Jersey late one night last week with the words of his tribute songs to 9/11 still in my mind, The Rising and Lonesome Day. And as we crossed the George Washington Bridge, I looked to the right of me at the New York City skyline. I thought about the Twin Towers that were no longer there and haven't been for 22 years. Then my mind turns to thoughts of all the people that we lost that day, and specifically the people from here, Larchmont and Mamaroneck, our friends and our neighbors, whose names will be read later in the ceremony. My mind also turned to those volunteer firefighters we lost from our community as a result of 9/11, from 9/11 related illnesses, as a result of their selfless heroism on that day. Our dear, dear friends, Dennis Tortorella, and 2 years ago, and Brian Payne just this last year. So much loss. Those we lost are not and will never be there for all the special moments, like weddings, holidays, graduations, births, family vacations, dance recitals, school plays, and sporting events. And they are not and never will be there for the everyday moments that really make up the fabric of our life. Sitting around meals at the kitchen table chatting, helping out with homework assignments, running out for something needed at the last minute at the grocery store, picking up at school dismissal, playing in a pickup hockey game, or going out for a drink and dinner with friends at a local restaurant. They are forever missing. And we can never make up for that loss. But we can give meaning to their loss. We can honor their memories by being present in the lives of those around us, reaching out, working together, helping one another. Let's not let the passage of time make us forget them or how we can remember them in meaningful ways. We can observe 9/11 as a day of service. We should never forget the tragedy of 9/11, but we can also honor the memories of those we lost by turning 9/11 into a day of doing good, in addition to a day of remembrance. And there are so many organizations and individuals right here in this community who are in real need of help and would welcome you with open arms, whether it's volunteering, donating, or just doing a simple act of kindness. Do you remember how we felt and acted toward one another on that day and in the weeks thereafter? We came together, one community and one nation. We reached out, sticky pages. We reached out to help our friends, and we reached out to help perfect strangers. We made that extra effort for each other, often with simple acts of kindness. And we found strength in one another and in our community. We knew that we were stronger together. My hope for us as a community and a nation, in honor of the memories of those who sacrificed everything, is that we regain that sense of unity, that we move forward together with that same sense of common purpose and strength and concern for each other, to meet the challenges of today and to move forward stronger together to ensure a better future for us all. Thank you.
Color guard, attain, hut. Forward, hut. Left, 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 right here your left, 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 right here your left, 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 right your left, left, left. More time, mark. Head, face. Post. Freezing. Hot. Order. Hot. Right. Face. Forward. Mark. Left. 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 Right. Left.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'd like to call the village of Larchmont. Now I'd like to call the village of Mamaroneck.
Gathering each year here to remember, we must understand what this moment is not. We are not simply recalling history, marking this moment as we might the Battle of Gettysburg or D-Day. significant as those decisive historic events remain, they are too far away, a reverential record of battles past. But 9/11 is different. It's part of our story, still happening, unfolding even now. Just last week, the New York City Fire Department added 43 new names to its World Trade Center Memorial Wall, commemorating firefighters, paramedics, civilian support staff who died from illnesses related to the rescue and recovery effort in the aftermath. The additions to the memorial wall bring the total number of FDNY members who've succumbed to post-9/11 illnesses to 331, almost equal to the number of firefighters killed at the Twin Towers that fateful day. It is 22 years since the towers fell, but we are still feeling the fallout, which reminds us just what our remembrance is all about. As Jewish tradition teaches, one who destroys a single life, Scripture ascribes it as if that person who has destroyed a world. And one who saves a single life, it is as if that person has saved an entire world. We lost over 3,000 worlds 22 years ago, and our world to this day is diminished without them. And because of the unthinkable, inhumane terror of that day, we may yet lose more. Yet if 9/11 is not merely history, but our story too, if the bravery of first responders, the gracious kindness of strangers, the sustaining support of community members here in our village, our town, means what it must, then we honor their memory by following their lead, by finishing their story. Knowing every single human life is a world worth saving, may our outreaching care for one another continue as we work together beyond anything that divides us, transcending the terror that still threatens, to create a world made whole again through our love. Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. Now I'd like to call the Honoring Catherine Parker, Legislator of Westchester County.
Thank you, Supervisor Alcandini. They did not break us 22 years ago. We had strong leaders in this community that came together and helped point us in the direction of service and helping our neighbors and being together. And the service members of this community came forth like no other, and they ran down to New York City. And as was mentioned earlier, we lost two great men in the last year, Chief Brian Payne from the Larchmont Fire Department and Captain Dennis Tortorella from the Mamaroneck Fire Department. Two wonderful, wonderful men who never thought of themselves as they went to give aid to their brothers and sisters in New York City and do the job that needed to get done. They never stopped and considered what was going to happen years later with their health. Earlier today, I was at the memorial for Westchester County. 123 names that we've been reading for 22 years of Westchester residents, but we added 7 new names of service members in Westchester County to the service members that have lost their lives. So we're now at over 70 members. Next year, we will have 2 more pieces of the wall in recognition of additional lives that will be lost. We live with that as a repercussion and a reminder that that tragic day has cost us plenty. But we can always remember too that the best of humanity came through that day. That's what we see today when we look and see the men in uniform and the women in uniform that are here. That's what we recognize in the leaders of our community who are here. That's what we recognize in all of us coming together and saying, I am here for you, neighbor. I know how you feel, and I love you. And that is how we continue to honor those who perished that day. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next, I'd like to call State Assemblyman Steve Otis.
We gather here again to remember, honor, and celebrate the lives of those we knew who we lost on September 11th. The feeling of loss has not diminished over time. If anything, the span of years that we have been without the friends we lost resonates more profoundly. One act of love and defiance we can all take is to bring back the memories of the good times we had with our friends. Bring back how they lived, laughed, and enjoyed family, friends, and the life of our community. In this way, we can bring them back, bring them closer to us. We also must live with the fact that the tragedy continues in new ways. We continue to lose first responders and others from September 11th illnesses. We also have seen the passing of family members who went through the horrible loss of their spouses, parents, siblings, or children 22 years ago, who lived with the pain of that evil day, what that evil day brought to their families, and now have left us as well. In the world we live in today, September 11th also needs to be a reminder of the importance of humanity and a warning that there are many steps on the way to evil. We can never forget the importance of humanity and respect for others in our country and around the world. For me, the most important thought for today is that we as a community think about the good times with the friends we lost. Think about their essence, humor, devotion, and spirit. Let us bring those memories forth and have them live in our hearts today. Let us celebrate their lives and comfort their families. Let us think about them on their happiest days. Thank you.
Jane, and I'm so heartened to be here because earlier today I was at a ceremony where the supervisor said people come to him and say, "Why are you still having this 22 years later?" And he said, "How could we not have this every year?" And the biggest challenge for me as a state senator who represents this community and as a chair of the education committee is that we have another generation that remembers and understands how important this day was. And so I'm so appreciative that you have the scouts and you have young people, because we need another generation to remember what all of us who were alive on that day remember, not only where we were, the pain of it, the tears of it, the families that lost loved ones, those searching, and those that died thereafter from 9/11 related illness. We have an obligation to make sure that the next generation is here, honors this day, honors our first responders and our veterans, and stands up for the sanctity of this moment. And I'm afraid we are losing it, and that's why I'm so pleased every year that the scouts are here and young people are here. And I'm going to make it my business to push to ensure that every school teaches about 9/11, not once a year, not twice a year, but as part of everything that every child in this state learns, so they understand this is a hallowed day. We will never forget. We will always remember, and we will always honor the memory of those who gave all for us. God bless America.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our first. Is that me? There you go. Thank you all first responders for being here. All right.
I can do this without a mic. Thank you to the first responders for being here. Thank you for your dedication to your duty. So many first responders lost their lives and continue to lose their lives because they did their duty on 9/11. And we depend upon you doing our duty to have our society function. I just want to begin by thanking you. But for most of us, this is just a day of the year where we remember. I know for the folks in the back, this is something that's part of your everyday life, that this tragedy could befall you by just doing your job. But there are so many people in America, and especially in this New York area, for whom 9/11 is an everyday tragedy. So my condolences go out to those who lost family and friends on this day 22 years ago. Hopefully, time and healing has assuaged the grief that can be so overwhelming. May we never experience another tragic day like we did on 9/11. Hopefully, we will always look out and care for one another and remember those we have loved and lost. God bless America, God bless New York State, and God bless these three municipalities.
Now I'd like to call Sarah Bauer, the mayor of the village of Larchmont.
I just want to say thank you to the town supervisor and the town staff for organizing this event every year. I know a lot goes into it, and we really appreciate it. And I also wanted to just acknowledge my village board. We have trustee Bridget Brennan, we have trustee Peter Finelli, and trustee and deputy mayor Dana Post here today as well. With heavy hearts today, we remember those impacted in the 9/11 attacks 22 years ago. The scope of the tragedy that occurred was just unimaginable. Everyone who lived through it knows exactly where they were and what they were doing as the events of that morning unfolded. So many in our community have friends, neighbors, colleagues, and family that were forever changed as a result of that day. I had neighbors who waved goodbye that morning as they got in their car and left for work at Cantor Fitzgerald's, and like so many, tragically, they never came home again. But in that dark moment, we also experienced the best of this country, in which so many people came together, and of course the incredibly brave first responders and their extraordinary heroics on that day and the days that followed. It was amazing to see how so many people came together and could give so much, both in our community and in our country. And today we reflect and honor all those who lost their lives, and united we promise to never forget. Thank you.
Larchmont and the Mamaronecks remember. I will tell you on my cell phone, there's been a number of these around the county today, and I've already seen cancellation notes that have just come through for Portchester's event and Yonkers event, but Larchmont Mamaroneck is here, not to forget these people. I had the privilege to be in public office representing these communities on that day. I was in the county legislature, the seat that Catherine Parker now holds, and I remember that we got together at Girl Scout Rock that very night. And for those who were active in those days, they remember it as well. So many new people are here in the community. And what 9/11 that night was the horror of dealing with people that we knew that we had lost. We've just lost Brian Payne, a friend. Certainly those in the town Mamaroneck Fire Department knew Brian and the great person that he was. We just had a Valley Road block party right in the corner of Fern and Valley Road. And how many times was Brian and his family there for that, and for so many other events in our world. And some of the ones that I knew. I rung the doorbell when I first ran for office, and I met Helen Cross and Kittle. And Doug Carpolo and I had a conversation in Mamaroneck Village about an issue that was something very much on his mind. These were real people that I had the pleasure of talking to, if not knowing as close personal friends. But I must say, in a somber way, that death is the great equalizer. Death comes to all of us, comes to all living beings. And if there's a message to get out of 9/11 that goes above and beyond the individual loss of lives, is that we are all in this together, because we all know that at some point in time, from the oldest to the youngest of us, we too will come to the end of days. In that way, we are all on the 107th floor together, all of us, with those people. We're all on Flight 93 together. We all have a limited amount of time. Unfortunately, we have let 22 years since 9/11 and the unity that we had right after that, we've let that unity slip through our fingers. We've become much more contentious and divided because we have differences of opinion. Differences of opinion is freedom of democracy, it's free speech, but we've let it go too far. We unfriend people when we disagree with them. We vilify people who we don't agree with. We draw divisions that didn't occur on 9/11. We see people as Christians and Jewish and Muslims and Hindu and Buddhists and Sikhs or no religion at all. When those towers went down, no one said, only these groups of people are going to die. People from every ethnic group, every level of education died. Corporate financial executives from Cantor Fitzgerald or Aon died alongside secretaries and maintenance men and waitresses. The universality of our mortality was apparent to all of us. And for some people there, but for the grace of God, would go, I dropped my daughter off. You've heard these stories. I dropped my daughter off at nursery school. I caught a later train. And I wasn't sitting on the 107th floor. So what it should make us appreciate, and we're in a secular world, I'll leave it to those of friends of mine who are in the clergy to take this to the spiritual one, that we have to find that unity again. We have to be able to go to a family event when Uncle Joe and Cousin Lou aren't talking to each other, and they've unfriended each other on Facebook or whatever they do when they're angry with each other. Because we have more in common humanity than we have in our disagreements. I live in a world in government all these years. Your county legislator, your state assemblyman, your senator, your county executive, there's always disagreements. But at the end of the day, to respect each other, to understand that we don't have to agree, but we do have to look at each other as fellow human beings, fellow Americans, people that we can feel some commonality. Even if we're of different ages, we're of different genders, we have all these differences, we have a commonality. That's what we saw on 9/11. The common fate, the intertwining of everybody's lives. I have to go to Rye, as Steve and Shelley and Catherine did. But I'm very happy to be here, and I'm particularly happy that in this community, I've had the good fortune to be a representative in some fashion or another for all of these years. I've seen this community grow. I've seen this community have some of that togetherness that other communities don't quite have yet. And I really salute it. We just saw it a couple of days ago at Homicks Field. How wonderful was that to see, those of you who were there. I see it when Pat Allen and the Girl Scouts get together and they have an activity. I see it when the American Legion Post at 347 does something, or our various firefighter groups, and you see that sense of unity. That's what we need to come out of 9/11. Common humanity and our unity. Thanks for letting me share.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm late. The weather out there is crazy. It's even worse in Yonkers, if you can believe that. It's good to be with you all this evening. I just want to start by, first and foremost, sending peace and love and strength and prayer to anyone who has lost a loved one as it relates to 9/11. I know we all remember where we were on that horrific day. I was in my third year of teaching in an elementary school in the Bronx, and when I heard about the first building hitting, I thought, the first plane hitting the building, I thought it was like, must have been an accident. Like, what the hell is going on? And then I heard about the second plane, and I knew immediately that we must be under attack. And I was all the way in the Bronx, nowhere near the towers, but parents in the Bronx just started coming in droves to pull their kids out of school. My son had been born a few months earlier, 5/30, 2001, and I obviously couldn't get back to Brooklyn where I lived at the time, so we stayed with my mom who was babysitting him that evening. And it was the first time in my life that I went to bed in terror, because I didn't know what might happen that night, what might happen the next day, or what might happen going forward. I also want to take a moment to honor and thank all of our first responders who continue to put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe. Thank you so much for your continued service. 2,977 people were killed. One event, 2,977 people on that day. About the same amount of people have died from disease and illness since that day. And that event led to a war in the Middle East that put our troops in the Middle East for another 20 years. We just pulled out of Afghanistan in 2021. Trillions of dollars spent, thousands of lives lost, all related to that one event. So my role in Congress is obviously to be here with you today to remember the lives that we have lost and to honor those who continue to serve and make the ultimate sacrifice. But my role is to also ensure that something like that never happens again in our country. That is my job. And that not only relates to ensuring that we are ready to defend ourselves, but that we are implementing policy and diplomacy worldwide so senseless violence and terror doesn't just stop here, but it stops all over the world. So that is my role, that is my job. I look forward to continue to do that job in coordination with all of you. And as we remember this day and honor this day, please remember, as always, to love each other regardless of our backgrounds, to learn from each other, because so much ignorance leads to extreme violence. And we have to lead with love, even at a local level, so that something like that can never happen again. Thank you all so much.
Now we're going to have the reading of the names in memory of those in our community who lost their lives in the tragedy of September 11th, 2001. We're going to have Daniel from the Boy Scouts and Alessia from the Girl Scouts.
Helen Belilovsky, J. Howard Bolton Jr., Douglas G. Karpaloff, Morris P. Kelly, Helen Crossan Kittle, Patricia Helen Kittle.
Frank J. Kessner, Edward H. Luckett, John T. Mackerline Jr., Christopher T. Orgilovitz, John A. Rayo, John F. Swain.